In this video, I'm about to answer one of the most commonly asked questions that I ever receive. We're talking Shimano reels, SLX DC versus Curado DC. Which one is better? Which one do I like more? Let's get into it. Hello and welcome. What's up, everybody? Thank you for clicking on the video. In this video, I'm gonna try my best to answer the most commonly asked question that I ever receive. Hey, when's that 6 cents frog gonna be available, brah? No, not that question. SLX DC, Curado DC, how do I like them? Which one is better? Is the Curado worth the extra money? What's the difference? What are my experiences with the two reels? I get asked almost every day about one or the other. What I think about them is the DC technology worth the extra money? Am I having problems casting? Do I still have to thumb the spool while I cast these things? Etc., etc., etc. My point is, somebody is always reaching out and asking about one of these two reels, so I'm gonna try to cover all the bases here in this video and just break it down for you guys and let you know my personal experiences with both of these bad boys right here. As you guys may know, I use exclusively Shimano reels. Most of my reels are either SLX DCs or Curado DCs. I have quite a bit of experience with both models, so I'm gonna try to answer all these questions to the best of my ability here in this video. Now, I'm not gonna go in depth into the technology behind them, what the specification differences are with each model. You can go onto Shimano's website and you can read about the technical aspects regarding these reels for yourself. What I'm gonna talk about is my own personal experience, what I noticed while I'm fishing with each of the models out there on the water, the differences that I've had, what I feel when I use them. It's gonna be more of a personal experience, opinion-based video, not so much a this is what's inside the reel and this is the component differences and the technology that's built into them. You guys can all go read about that stuff for yourself. I'm gonna be telling you about my experiences and what I've noticed while I've been out there fishing with these things. I'm gonna try to just answer a couple of the main questions right now. What's the difference? Is this one better? Is it worth the extra money? Mainly, I'm gonna tell you up front, the main thing that you're gonna notice is the material that the body was made out of. This one feels more like a smooth metal. This one feels more like it has more composite or plastic components integrated. They've probably done that on this one to get the price down a little bit more under that $200 mark. $189.99 versus $249.99. 190 bucks, 250 bucks. So that's the main difference. Both reels have a Hagane metal reel body, but the SLX just feels a little bit less rugged in the hand than the Curado. For me, that's the main difference. When I pick each one of them up, the way it feels in the hand, build components, and the texturing on the outside just feels a little bit, for lack of a better word, cheaper on the SLX DC. I'm not saying it feels bad. I'm not saying it doesn't feel like high quality reel. Obviously, I own like 6 of these things. Very high quality, very nice reel, but the Curado is just a little bit more rugged. Seems like it has a little bit nicer components, just a little bit sturdier build quality, and feels a little bit smoother, nicer, more metallic in the hand. That's the main difference I noticed when I pick them up. As far as functionality goes, I would say the other major difference is casting distance. With that being said, the difference is negligible. On the SLX DC, you may cast maybe 5 to 10 yards shorter. And that's depending on how you set it up, depending on how much heat you put on it. Just a slight negligible difference in distance. A little bit shorter on the SLX and just a little bit further out there on the Curado. And really, those are the two major differences, man. They're both excellent reels. Both have that awesome DC technology, the signature DC whine, which I love. Some people dislike it. I happen to like it. The first DC reel that I owned was the Curado DC, and then I owned the SLX. So I didn't upgrade, I sort of downgraded, if that's what you want to call it. I went from the Curado to the SLX, but I did not regret it at all. Like I said, bought multiples after I got my first SLX. I continued to purchase them, as well as more Curado DCs. It all comes down to what you can afford, what's more important to you. If you want a reel that's based off of a more rugged design, I would say go with the Curado. Another question that I get asked so often is the Curado DC worth the extra money? In my opinion, yes. If you have the extra 60 bucks, the Curado is absolutely worth the extra scratch. It's just a little bit nicer, like I said, in regards to build quality and castability. But if you're looking to get into DC reels for the first time and you're saving up your money and you don't have a lot of extra bread, the SLX DC is an awesome option. There's no reason not to purchase this reel. A lot of times people will ask me, hey, how's the SLX compared to the Curado? Is it as good as the Curado DC? And I'll say, the SLX is great, but it's no Curado. And that's really how I feel about it, man. This is a great reel. I love it. I use it all the time. I have it on a bunch of my setups, and I trust this reel. But I have to say, man, the Curado DC edges it out just a little bit. Something that's probably not quite as important to some people, but I think is cool, is that the SLX looks awesome. No, it doesn't really matter, but yes, it is an awesome looking reel. Black, anodized blue. It's just an awesome color combination. One of my favorite color combinations. The little anodized blue pieces on here, the spool tension adjustment, and on the reel handle are just nice little touches. It just looks awesome once you get this thing mounted up onto a rod. That blue and black, really supreme. That being said, the Curado DC is also a looker, man. Look at this thing. Super nice, super crispy, high build quality, DC technology. They both perform, man. They're both excellent reels. They're both excellent options. It just comes down to what's more important to you. The Curado DC is based off of the original Curado reel, which is known for being a workhorse reel, super rugged, super reliable. And I would say that along with some of the benefits that I already mentioned, are the reasons why you pay a little bit more for the Curado. But the SLX DC is tough to beat for $200. You guys have seen me out there fishing with both of these reels a lot. I've put them both through the ringer and I've caught a bunch of fish on both of these. They're great reels, man. They're excellent. One thing I want to talk about is people ask me, hey, I'm having trouble casting my DC reel. It's still backlashing. Do you still thumb your DC reel when you cast it? So first off, I'm just gonna talk about how I set up my DC reels. When it comes to the adjustment on the reel, I set it up just like any traditional bait caster. I know that the user's manual on Shimano will tell you to do a little jiggle on the spool and tighten it down until there's barely any play or something along those lines. I personally don't pay attention to any of that. I set this thing up just like I set up all my other bait casters. I tie the bait on there and I set it up to where when I can hit the button, it'll drop freely to the ground and won't overrun once it stops. And that's pretty much it, man. I set them up the same way I set up everything else, and that works great for me. The next thing I want to talk about is thumbing your DC reels. I thumb every cast no matter what. Now, as you guys may know, there are several settings here on the side for the DC reels. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Setting number 1 is completely open. It's going to function just like your traditional bait caster. The DC braking is going to be practically non-existent, pretty much open brake setting on 1. Then you get into modes 2 and 3, which is where I run my reels. Setting number 2 for braid, setting number 3 for fluorocarbon or monofilament. And that's how I run them, man. I practically never put these things on 4, which is like the dummy setting, the high wind setting. Setting number 4 is where you're going to have the most DC braking applied, and I virtually never ever switch it over to setting number 4. I'm either running on 2 or 3 all the time. So with that being said, I'm thumbing my reels every cast. I have it set up loose enough to where I can get good distance, but I still run it on 2 or 3 so that I have some DC braking applied, giving me a little bit of that digital assistance. But for the most part, I'm still using thumb discipline. Why do I do that? Couple reasons. These things aren't foolproof. No matter what they would like you to believe, they're not backlash proof. You don't just get to go out there and fire them off all day and expect it to never backlash. Unless you're running it on 4 with the spool tension tight, that's just not the way it works. You're still gonna have to be paying attention to overrun and stopping the reel once your bait hits the water. At least for me, that's how I do it. And one of the reasons I do it that way is because I don't want to develop any bad habits. Once I switch over to a traditional bait caster, if I'm used to never thumbing the reel, chances are I'm gonna go to make a cast and I'm gonna forget to thumb that reel and I'm gonna have a backlash or an overrun. So my thinking, my ideology, my method is to just always thumb the reel. I'm always feeling for overrun, paying attention, keeping input on my thumb, feeling that feedback from the reel. And if I feel any extra line coming off, I'm applying thumbing pressure and I'm thumbing the reel to stop it as soon as the bait hits the water. Practically every cast, either on setting 2 when I'm running braid or 3 when I'm running fluorocarbon. That's what works out for me. That's how I like to do it. I still get the benefit of the DC technology helping me out. I'm still find myself in situations where I'm casting into the wind and the DC tech will save me from a backlash. It's happened many times before and I'm sure it'll happen many times in the future. But as far as thumbing the reel goes, it's something that I still do. It's something that I think you should do. Unless of course you're running it on 4 with that spool tension cranked down, you're probably gonna have to pay attention. You're gonna have to feel for that feedback and apply pressure with your thumb accordingly. If nothing else, it's just good practice. You don't want to develop any bad habits. And like I said, when you rock back over to a traditional bait caster like the Curado K, which I also own and use and love, the original Curado, the real model that the Curado DC was based off of, you know, traditional, non-DC braking, have one of those, love it. And you gotta be disciplined. When you switch back over to those traditional style bait casters, you gotta be thumbing. So I just keep myself in the zone at all times. I thumb on the cast and I stop the spool with my thumb when the bait hits the water. At the end of the day, they're 2 really awesome reels. They're both really nice. Feel extremely blessed and fortunate to be able to run these reels. I have a blast fishing with them. They always do their job. If I had to gripe on anything in regards to these reels, I would say that for whatever reason, sometimes when you let them sit overnight, the drag backs off. Check your drag often because the drag will loosen up on these things. And yeah, it's just something to keep an eye on. A lot of times when I haven't picked up a setup in a while and I go and I hook into a fish, I'll notice that the drag has loosened up a bit and I'll have to go ahead and give it a couple cranks to get it back down tight. But that's something that I should be paying attention to anyway, something we should all be paying attention to. Making sure your drag is set where you want it to be set before you hook into a fish. But really, that's my only complaint, man, and it's not even a complaint. Like I said, that's something that I should be keeping an eye on anyway. Shimano has an excellent maintenance program. As long as you purchase them within a year, you can send these things off and get free maintenance done by Shimano. They'll clean them up, lube them up, replace any parts that might need to be replaced for absolutely free. And I think that's an awesome program that they have. They have licensed maintenance facilities all over the country. I've actually pulled this Curado DC off the rod and I'm about to send it off for maintenance right now. What do you guys think, man? Is there anybody out there watching that owns both of these reels? Which one do you like better? Do you think that the Curado DC is worth the extra money, or would you just stick with the SLX? Personally, I can't really say one or the other because I own both, I continue to purchase both, and I continue to use both on a daily basis with great results. So it's really gonna come down to two things. Personal preference, which one you think looks cooler. Yes, it matters. Let's face it, when stuff looks cool, it looks cool. Whether you want a little bit more rugged design and just a little bit more casting distance, I'm talking negligible casting distance, maybe 5 to 10 yards max. And if you're trying to save a little bit of money or not, if you have the extra money for the Curado DC, I think it's an excellent choice. And yes, I do think it is worth the extra money that they charge. But if you're trying to save a few bucks and you still want to get into that DC range and fire off some DC technology, the SLX DC is an incredible option and one that I will continue to use while I'm out there fishing. I love this reel. It just looks cool. It works great. It just feels not quite as nice as the Curado DC, and it doesn't quite cast as far. Sometimes it does. Sometimes I don't even notice a difference in the casting distance. I hope this video answered some of the questions you guys have been asking about the SLX DC and the Shimano Curado DC. Which one is better? Which one I prefer? I can't really say that I prefer one over the other. I've got so many of both models and I bounce in between setups so often that I don't even really notice. I will not hesitate to go from a Curado DC to an SLX DC in the blink of an eye and just keep on fishing with no worry whatsoever. They're both nice. They're both awesome reels. They're both worth the money. It just all comes down to what's more important to you, which one you think looks cooler, and if you want a little bit more of a rugged design. But I think that's all I can think of to say about these reels. I hope this video helped you out in some kind of way if you're considering picking up one or the other or both. Like I said, I own multiples of both and I love them all, man. They're all great reels. Both of them come with similar gear ratios. You know, you got your 6-to-1s, your 7-to-1s, your 8-to-1s. It all just comes down to what kind of fishing you're doing. We'll talk about some of that stuff in a future video, but I just wanted to shoot this one really quick to try to help answer some of those questions that you guys have been asking me. Like I said, I get asked all the time about the SLX DC versus the Curado DC. How do I like the Curado? How do I like the SLX? Which one do I think is better? Is the Curado worth the extra money? And now you guys know my thoughts on the subject. If it did help you out and you would like to see more content from me, I put out new fishing related videos all the time here on this channel, both from here in the garage and out there on the water fishing. I would love to have you guys on board with what we got going on. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, help us grow this beast. We just recently passed 12,000 and we're on a mission to hit 100,000 and obtain that silver play button. Can't do it without you. So if you had fun, if you enjoyed the video, if any of this information helped you out, please consider subscribing to the channel. And yeah, help us color in the bar, keep this thing growing. Much love and shout outs to everybody who has been subscribing to the channel lately. We gained over 150 new people in the past 2 days. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. 13,000 is the next milestone that we have in our crosshairs, but like I said, we're trying to rip our way to 100K. I would love to have you guys ride along with me. Just a little bit shorter video today talking about these two reels. If you're interested in seeing more content from me, go back through the channel and check out some of my other videos. I have a ton of content posted for you guys to watch, and I will be back with a new video soon. If you watched my last video, you saw where I did some tackle rigging on a couple new techniques that we're gonna be trying while we're out there, and I talked about a bait that I had ordered. Well, that bait just arrived. It's the Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Craw, and I'll just show that to you guys really quick before we end the video. Green pumpkin, green and purple. It just looks like watermelon candy to me. But yeah, want to show those to you guys since they got dropped off here today. Also drinking a nice cold Zevia. It's actually a hot Zevia now, but I think that's gonna do it for today's video. I don't really have much else for you. I just wanted to talk to you guys about those two reels since I do get asked all the time. I thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and shoot this video really quick, get it posted up for you guys. I'm gonna be back out there on the water fishing really soon. Hopefully the next video that you see here will be an on the water video. Otherwise, you know, we'll be back here in front of the tackle wall soon, shooting some more fishing content for you guys either way. But I do appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch my video. That about does it. That about wraps her on up. So I'm gonna say goodbye for now, and I'll see you on the next one.